Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am Todd Oxtra, your solo host today. Charlie is on a journey. He started a new job. He's back doing a show. I wanted to give him a week off just so he could catch up and get his wind and just really get back to reality. So this week, though, we're going to talk about a lot of cool things, and it's about damn time that I have brought in someone that I go way back with podcasting, and we just have not been able to align our schedules. And that is Mr. Corey Dirrig Hudson. And Corey, you are from the Boss Rush Media Group. It's all podcasts. You are a host. You're a producer. You do all the video and audio editing. You do all the designs, the logos. I mean, it's a fantastic what you do with all of the cool folks you work with and all the different shows you've started with. And basically, you're on Twitter. You're everywhere. And you're constantly doing a great job of getting your content out there in different ways and also highlighting other people that you're fans of. So I'm so glad you're on the podcast today. So Corey, thank you for being on. We had a little bit of snafu at first, but I'm glad this is actually happening.
Yeah, we go way back. Like, I know this is my first time on this show proper. I think I was on probably like 3 or 4 years ago when you had a bunch of people in the gaming space before you started co-op mode with Mark. And I was on one of those shows, but never on SFU proper. So schedules just they finally aligned. We're here. I'm glad because Todd, you're one of my favorite people. I look at Secret Friends Unite all the time, and I'm just like, for whatever you want to call this space that we're in, the indie pods or whatever people are calling us, like I seriously hold Secret Friends Unite as like the gold standard of how to start small, build upon things, build upon things, build upon things, and now Holocron Chronicles, co-op mode, the Star Trek show that I'm sorry, Charlie,
Okay.
I don't listen to. I don't watch Star Trek. What is it? Code 47.
Code 47. Very good.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. I love you guys so much. I love Secret Friends Unite. I love the community you've built. I love you and Mark and Charlie. You know, it's you guys are wonderful, and I'm humbled that I'm here. It's exciting. So.
You know, and that is a big part of what this is all about. I mean, doing this for 338 episodes, and it's funny because at times we had to skip weeks and different things. So we'd probably be even higher if we didn't do that. But I think about all of the people I've met through different spaces, through podcasts, and it becomes like almost incestuous. You meet somebody, and you form these relationships, and it's really awesome. And I remember, kind of helping you guys out at the very beginning on Nerds Gone Rogue and all of those things, and we just had a blast. So yeah, I'm glad we're able to do this.
I know. It's just like an interconnected web. Like it's Secret Friends. It's us. It's like it's Sean Capri and his group. It's just like this whole huge inner web of awesome people that just make cool stuff on the internet, and it just makes me happy to see everybody getting their stuff out there. And like I said, I think SFU is like the top of the pyramid, so to speak, in terms of growing the content in a natural, fun way. So.
Well, thank you, Corey. This has been fantastic. And it's funny because I met in real life one of your co-hosts last year before everything shut down. That was Edward Varnell in Chicago. Out of the blue, we met.
Oh, geez.
And I probably owe Ed a guest spot on SFU. Just has never happened before. So that's probably got to happen because Ed and I go way back too. So it's just been fantastic that we've all been able to group. So, but enough of the love fest, Corey, because I talk all the time. But people don't know you very well. So beyond what you do in the podcasting space, how did you become the geek you are today?
Well, sorry, Charlie, I'm bringing a video game into this, but it will get to other things. My dad brought an Atari 2600 home when I was really young. I would say probably 3. It's one of my very first memories, actually. I tell the story a lot. which is funny because we used to sit on the floor and play Atari all the time. Me and my dad, we would play Kaboom and Donkey Kong and the really bad version of Pac-Man, and we'd sit there on the floor and since the Atari, my dad has never touched a video game since. Right? I tried to get him to play Wii Sports with me. It didn't go very well for me. He was actually really good at bowling. But other than that, like he just had no interest in games. And then my grandma bought me a Game Boy, and I feel like that was really what became really into not just games, but other things. Like Ninja Turtles is probably the property that got me into, geekdom, I guess you would say. Ninja Turtles, X-Men, and from there, just collecting a ton of toys and reading comics and playing video games, and it's kind of where I started. And then, from there, kind of, well, what can I do creatively with that? Because I also used to paint and draw a lot. And then all this stuff kind of happened, and here we are.
And you're also a huge Disney geek too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big passion of yours.
Yeah, and it's funny because like all the things I like now are owned by Disney. So Star
Works
Wars,
out.
Marvel, Pixar, all the major properties are now owned by Disney. So it works out. But yeah, I mean, I think, I think my first comic book was I forget what issue it was, but it was an X-Men comic. I remember the cover distinctly. It was thicker than a normal comic book cover. It was really shiny, and it had like probably some hologram on the front. Wolverine was missing a hand. It's probably still at my parents' house somewhere, and I remember it so distinctly. Rogue was in the back. Jean, Professor. The issue was like Professor X was missing, and they had to go. Man, the X-Men in the 90s, so good. And Fox just kind of,
Yeah.
It's I don't think I have to tell the audience what Fox did to the X-Men.
No, they kind of lucked in when they actually made a good film. It was the rest of the bad ones that were kind of like, yeah, you proved yourself. So, but you know what? We got the cartoon. We got some good movies out. We got Hugh Jackman, and now we're gonna see what Disney does with them. So I'm excited to see wherever this ship goes, and we'll hopefully find out soon.
I wonder, and I know we're not really talking about that, but I wonder what Disney's going to do with the X-Men, because the rumor is they actually introduced a mutant already into the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
What Ursa Major, I think, is who they introduced.
Exactly. Yep.
I haven't seen Black Widow yet, but so, and then in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they went to the Mutant City. Technically, right?
Oh yes, the Madripoor, and that's a lot.
Yeah, Madripoor.
That's and actually Wolverine introduced that place because he actually went undercover as a guy named Patch, where he looked like James Bond, which is funny because he looks like Wolverine, but he's got a patch and wearing a tuxedo. So we're very undercover.
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when Raphael and Ninja Turtles put on the trench coat to go watch a movie, right? Just
absolutely, yeah. Being undercover is very easy. We overcomplicate it. Just do whatever you want. Put a baseball cap and
Superman wears glasses, exactly. Right?
Corey, it would be like you turning your hat around.
Right. Yeah.
We wouldn't even know who it was.
I can do that for this audience.
Really?
Oh
my goodness! Watch this, folks.
Now you have two guests on this show. Right?
I don't know who. Wait, who are you? Where did Corey go? I don't know what's happening.
I could flip my bill up like that. That's what the cool streamer kids do these days, right?
Oh my goodness, like old bicycle hats. Yeah. So, folks, with somebody new come on.
Yeah. Ask your son who he watches on Twitch and see if he does this.
God, I don't even want to go there. Oh well. But Corey's wearing a Cleveland hat and he put it on backwards. It's like his Clark Kent glasses. It's really good disguise. So,
I know.
Well, you know what? We could talk about that, but I think something cooler, Corey, that we talk about is the issue of the comic that is the same of this episode, and that is the Mighty Thor issue 338. This came out December 1983 for 60 cents. You get to see Thor battling Beta Ray Bill. And for the audience, I did something first ever. I actually printed the cover so people could actually see it. So there you go, folks, even though it's kind of hard to see because, I have a background. But there you go. You can see it. That's worth like 10 cents. Yeah. So we've got this. And a little background, Beta Ray Bill was an alien that was able to pick up Thor's hammer and essentially be worthy and become this hero in Thor's costume and actually beat up Thor pretty badly. And it was just such a weird idea and concept. And this is really where Thor in the comics got really weird and interesting. We got Thor Frog a couple issues later. It was an iconic run by Walt Simonson. The artwork started really standing out. It didn't look dated Marvel. It really did some interesting things with storyline, brought in Surtur, Curse. A lot of those things you saw in Thor Ragnarok came directly from this guy. So I just think it's so great. And Beta Ray Bill is a great character that I would love to see brought in. He eventually got it. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder if in Thor Love and Thunder, that seems like with the cosmic side, it seems like the perfect place to introduce him, especially if you kind of want to keep if you want to keep like Thor going, or if Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth decide to book it one day and like you still kind of want that Thor style character, like Beta Ray Bill would be kind of perfect to just shove in there with the cosmic side of stuff, right? Like,
oh yeah, he's a really fun character, and they've been doing some interesting stuff in the comics with him lately. He did get his own hammer as well, and then in the weird like 90s they did like a Thunderstrike group where it was weird Thors that looked extreme, and it's just a bad idea. But this still really just makes me nostalgic for this is my era of Thor that I really loved it. And Thor is he's probably my favorite solo Marvel character, along with Wolverine. I have a Mjolnir tattoo that looks exactly like his hammer, as he has it in the comic. So big thing for me. So this comic, though, folks, is great run, one of the best runs on Thor, and Thor has had great runs lately. It's all in Marvel Unlimited, or go and find a issue in your backlog from your local comic book shop. But with that, Corey, I think it's time for us to get into the meat of the show. So now how we do that, we turn to our gal pal, our senior news correspondent. So without further delay, Madam Webb, take it away.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh, my goodness. Corey, Madam Webb has a great deal for you. She knows you've got 2 little kids, and she is trying to make some scratch in retirement. Her Confederacy widow pay got cut.
Geez.
So if you need a babysitter who's not very attentive, not very strong, and may drop your kids, she's available.
That sounds like a good deal. Can't wait for that.
I didn't upsell it, did I?
Thanks, Madam Webb. Appreciate you and your robot voice. I don't know if I should be confused or turned on or just kind of creeped out. I don't know. Madam Webb she's Madam Webb.
She prefers to be auto-tuned, Corey. That's what it's about.
Yeah. It's fine.
Oh well. Yeah. Just keep it in your back pocket if you need you and the wife need to get away. We all know that as parents, we all need to get away. Oh well. At this point, though, we're going to talk about the news of the week. So the first story is near and dear to my heart. And I know, Corey, the Avatar franchise, and this is not the Jim Cameron one. This is the Nickelodeon animated series, which spawned an M. Night Shyamalan movie, which was horrible. Then spawned a sequel that happened in the future called Korra. And it's just a great series, a fantastic universe about a group of people called benders, and they basically bend the elements, and they can use those to fight. And it's all about this. Basically, their society is divided between all of these tribes: the water tribe, the air tribe, rock, fire. And it's really a great storyline, and it's done in books, essentially, versus chapters, whatever you want to call them. And it just is fantastic. And I love the way that an animated series at the time on Nickelodeon actually got to tell some really compelling stories, develop some awesome characters, and got to see its vision throughout. You don't see that much with, Disney Channel or things like that, where they do an arc and they tell a whole story, kind of like our modern television. This is before that kind of became popular too, like with Breaking Bad and things like that, where you got the whole arc. So this is kind of surprising, but I can understand why it's happening. It's just interesting that this is a Nickelodeon property and it's going to Netflix versus why is
Paramount Plus, right? That's
where
the Viacom, right? Yeah. So, which is funny because like a side tangent here about Paramount Plus, but like they just did that huge deal with South Park, and it's just like, I wouldn't. And if South Park the series is on HBO Max, so like, I don't know. Wouldn't it just make sense to keep I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, South Park's part of Viacom, which is Comedy Central, which is Paramount
Right.
Plus. So it's like all these old deals that got made. It just you start seeing these weird things.
Yeah.
It's even why like Marvel movies still aren't always like, I think the first Captain America maybe and Iron Man are on Paramount Plus because Universal, I guess, like distributed those movies before Disney
And the
bought them.
Hulk,
So,
the Incredible Hulk too, like, because Incredible Hulk still isn't on Disney Plus, and
so
the
weird.
Spider-Man movies aren't on Disney Plus because obviously Sony did that deal with Netflix, so the Spider-Man movies are going to be on Netflix, and then Incredible Hulk is on, I think it's on Hulu, and
Sure.
yeah, I don't.
But the
Why
She-Hulk
don't-
series is going to be on Disney Plus. So
I know.
I don't understand any of this.
I don't know. I don't. Why do we have so many streaming services? First of all, like,
Because they're all greedy, Corey. All of these
know.
mega networks want to get money from us directly.
It's just
Sony's the only one that doesn't have a network right now, and I think we're going to maybe get that with PS Plus as a like it's going to be Crunchyroll and all these things. So we don't know, but as right now, this is what we've got. Enjoy what you can, and juggle your services. That's
Remember
all
when
I
it
can
was
recommend.
just Netflix and it was so nice.
Oh, people thought
Everything
that was going to last forever. I could cut the cord, not pay for anything, and it's only $10 a month on Netflix. I'm saving all this money.
And then it was like, and then it was Hulu, and it was like, oh well, I guess Hulu makes sense because
it's TV.
3 or 4 companies coming together to distribute their TV shows, and that's fine. But then everybody divested, and Disney bought the rest.
Oh, and then we just had what? HBO Max and Discovery Plus are together. It's not going to end anytime soon. And we're hearing more consolidation because people just want to catch up.
And then Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
And like Ted Lasso is saving that.
I know. That and Mythic Quest are the only shows I watch. Well, I also watching Schmigadoon, which is great. But it's just go where your heart takes you, apparently. But going back to this, we do have now casting on this, and the cast looks great. That was one of the big problems with the M. Night Shyamalan movie. Avatar is heavily influenced by Asian culture, and they basically cast non-Southeast Asians in those roles. And people felt like, what are you doing? And so nowadays, but I think that was like 10 years ago. So
yeah, I was going to say
there wasn't as much heat on that.
They did that with Ghost in the Shell too, right? With Scarlett Johansson too.
Everybody
was so
the Dragon
mad
Ball
about that.
movie.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. Yeah. So, but we're a little bit more conscious about these things. It makes more sense. So the cast looks fantastic. I think these are almost all unknowns, or they've done small things. We've got the cast looks great, but Albert Kim is going to be the showrunner. We've got some other folks, Dan Lin, who did the Lego movie, and then apparently Lindsay Libtor, who's doing the reboot of Walker, Texas Ranger, which is so weird. And then Michael Goy, American Horror Story. They're all basically the geniuses behind this. The showrunners of Avatar are also involved in this, I believe, as well, which is good.
That's good. It's always good to get the creatives in there, like the original creatives in there, I feel like. So, because they're doing that with the Last of Us HBO show. They're getting,
thank God,
creative team in there. So
versus the Uncharted movie, which we don't have to talk about.
No, pass.
Exactly. So we've got the cast: Gordon Cormier, adorable little kid as Aang. This girl named Kaya Wentio, which sounds like it's like that one. You would just get one name as Katara. Then we've got Ian Owsley as Sokka. And then we also got Dallas Liu as Prince Zuko. These are great cast members. I'm really excited about this. Let's see. Do we have a date when this is coming out?
You know what I like about this cast too is like you look sometimes when they cast a movie like this, you look at that and you're like, man, these kids look like they can't carry a movie. This cast looks like they could carry a franchise, right? This looks like if this is successful, there's going to be probably like 3 or 4 of these movies.
I mean, I'm assuming this is going to be. I don't know how they're going to adapt it. It's going to be a series, so I don't know if they're going to do the same like structure like in seasons like the show. If they want to go longer, they're going to have to do something else because I think the original Avatar only was 4 seasons long, but it was also 22 episodes per season, so things are a little different now.
Yeah, but Netflix usually goes about what 6 to 12 episodes a season for their
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be all right. Because like I mean I know this is just like a promotional image, but I don't know if you saw the promotional image for that new Home Alone movie, which looks terrible.
Oh, with Kimmy Schmidt in the
Yeah.
lead, or she's the parent. Yeah, that
She's
looks
the parent,
weird.
and it's just like, oh my gosh, like that, like I feel like they're doing this right where that is just like they're what are you doing? What are you doing? So
It's all about the content, Corey. Just got to
yeah, I know.
start putting content out there,
I get
regardless
it.
if it's good or bad.
I get it, but you're Disney. You have thousands of other properties to go back on, and those movies are already on Disney Plus. So, anyways, this cast looks great. I've been meaning to watch The Last Airbender for a long time because people always recommend it to me. They're like, it's kind of anime, but it's more westernized. It's a Western property. I think you would really like it. So I've been it's on my list.
I started watching with my wife, and we both loved it. So maybe something you and your wife could actually enjoy.
Yeah, I've gotten into things that I didn't think she would like. So,
and it's very kid friendly. So even around your kids are very young, but even around the kids, you could watch it around the kids, and I think that would be something as a family you could probably enjoy if they can sit still for 2 seconds.
That's the challenge, right?
Good luck. Yeah. So I'm excited for this. They didn't specify a date, but I'm guessing 2022 if they're just revealing cast now. So I'm excited for this, man. Netflix is just nailing a lot of the licensed properties. So I'm people say, what's Netflix good for? Well, as of right now, they're putting out some really good content that I really enjoy, like Castlevania, The Witcher. I think that Witcher animated special is actually out this week as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be watching that. So, I mean, nobody else is making content like this because Disney isn't going to do something like this because they don't own it.
I think Netflix knows that they have to pull some big punches because they're losing all the things that people used to go to Netflix for, right? Like The Office was a big one, Friends was a big one, Seinfeld was a big one. And once Disney put out Disney Plus last year, they lost a lot within the last year. Like I think the only Disney properties left on Netflix are the Indiana Jones movies, which is like I watch those pretty frequently, and I'm just like, where are these coming to Disney Plus?
Well, I think those are also on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think it's just then the original Netflix Marvel shows, which I'm curious to see when those will transfer over to. So yeah.
Well, I think Netflix just owns those shows, but if they were like Disney owns the characters now, but I think Netflix just owns the shows, so they'll be on Netflix in perpetuity. But if
Disney buys them,
yeah, but I mean that first season of Daredevil and The Punisher, you really think that's going to be on Disney Plus at some point?
No, I think it would actually go over to Hulu. Like they have the MODOK show. I think they would put this because those are more mature. I don't think those fit the Disney Plus mode. To be honest, Punisher does not fit. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so that's good. That's a good point. Next, we're getting into the MCU. We haven't heard much about this show, but we are getting Moon Knight. And Moon Knight is a very interesting character. Charlie and I've read the comics back in the day. We've talked about the character himself. He has such a weird origin. So quite honestly, Disney could really do anything with this character and not really say, and no one could really complain that this isn't canon unless they say he's a space alien who, is married to a bear. I mean, that's about the only way they could say this isn't true to the character.
I mean, to be fair, one of his personalities could be a space alien.
It could be who likes bears. So. Yeah. He's bear curious. Oh, sorry, I didn't do that. Yeah. So, but Oscar Isaac is in this film, or no, this is a series. As Moon Knight. Moon Knight is essentially Mark Spector, who was a mercenary, a bad dude, was left for dead in Egypt, and he essentially was resurrected and saved by the Egyptian god Khonshu. I don't know if Khonshu is a real god or not, but let's just go with it and assume he is. Brought him back to life, and he essentially became the fist of Khonshu, basically the arm of the god to right wrongs and do the right thing. And he's like the opposite of Batman because he's all white, and he uses the moon, so he's not afraid to be seen. Versus Batman wants to be hidden. So that's kind of his origin. But over time, he's been insane. He's worn a suit. He's been all over the board. And his new series is pretty interesting. But yeah, so he's not really, and he's never had really like a long running comic book series. So in a lot of ways, there's a lot of ways they could go with him and do whatever they want. I don't think they'll make people mad. But Oscar Isaac is a great pick for this role because it's a great he can do a lot with it. They want to go crazy, go crazy. There's not a lot of iconic villains with Moon Knight, not a lot of iconic storylines. But he has, I believe, been in the Avengers. He's been with the occult side of Marvel back in the day with Werewolf by Night. So there's a lot of ways you could go, and he's got a supernatural bent, and we're getting Blade in the future too. So that's another area where he could team up. But we got this initial, we think, is a costume, which I'm really impressed by.
Yeah, it looks very well, how do you say, comic accurate. It's very like it's very white. It's very he's got the glowing eyes and the mat like in the hood, and the chest piece looks pretty good. It looks good. I think the costume looks great if this is real, you know.
It's very texture. Kind of reminds me even like Spawn. Remember that Spawn movie? Like it's very like veiny.
How could
but
I forget that Spawn movie?
With John Leguizamo as the clown.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of interesting. And Marvel typically, when they do a lot of their costumes, they're very subdued. You know, it's like it's got the theme of it, but they don't go all in.
It feels like only very recently have they been experimenting with going all the way with it, right? I think I was actually quite surprised when I was watching Wanda Vision at the end that they actually gave her the crown and you know, like, but still that version of the costume was very subdued and very just kind of like, instead of this bright red and pink costume, it was like that dark maroon and just kind of very elegant looking, right? And yeah, I've been actually kind of impressed with some of the costume design that Marvel's going for now. This one it looks good. This actually has me quite excited. Friend of our friend, I think he's been on the show a couple times, Josh Finney, who I do our Destiny show with. He's like over the moon about Moon Knight. Like he loves Moon Knight. So when he showed me these pictures earlier, that's why I brought it up in our chat.
Okay.
And I was like, man, this looks really good. I'm actually quite excited for this now.
I think this is going to be cool. And I think the great thing about Marvel is so far with their series, they have not been scared to do some really interesting things. I think the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the most by the numbers. It kind of just felt like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought it was still well worth watching, but it just didn't like, oh, that's compelling.
I mean, Loki and WandaVision were way more experimental and over the top, I feel like, than that. As much as I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I loved it. It was definitely this just feels like a 6-hour regular Marvel movie instead of what they're doing with the other shows.
It felt like what the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so I'd rather get more of that than more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But that's just my 2 cents. But oh well. That's a different age and date. We're in a different era, and I really like what Marvel's doing. So, so far, I mean, this is going to be neat. Once again, trying new things. As of right now, no premiere date. But yeah, this is going to be another thing where I think a lot of people are going to be like surprised by it. And Marvel continues to introduce characters. And they can do it in a TV series, which means you can really take a lot of chances, and they're not afraid now to bring these characters from TV into the movies.
Plus, I think, first of all, like the TV realm gives you a lot more room to experiment with things.
Oh, yeah.
Smaller budget. They could, although Disney's been spending a gajillion dollars on these shows, but also I think what's interesting with Moon Knight in particular isn't his thing. He has multiple personalities, and like, they could almost do a similar thing that they did with WandaVision, and each show could be like a different personality thing or a different, trait or whatever. And
what's he doing?
Really, really interesting thing. So
yeah, he could be a spy one episode. He could be a cat. That was one storyline. He was a cab driver. Like, which is so
really?
Weird. He could be an Uber driver. Yeah, it'd be fun. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I'm sure there will be a nod in there that he's uses a car as an Uber to catch a villain or something. I'm sure that'll be in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, more to come. And Oscar Isaac, he's fantastic. He's slowly becoming this really uber geek guy who does all these cool roles. So I love that these good actors now are finally just embracing it and just realize this is money to be made. It's good content. More to come. So can't wait for this. So next, though, we've got a weird thing that I just did not expect, and that is we're getting one of the classic horror films, Night of the Living Dead, and they're making an animated version of it. I watched the trailer. I don't know if you've seen any of this at all, Charlie or Corey, but it doesn't look the best animation, but I can see what they're going for because Night of the Living Dead was never a high-end movie anyways, and it seems to fit the bill.
Yeah. I feel like it's interesting that they're trying the animated thing, right? Because it's usually people trying to take the animated thing and turning it into the live action thing. It's very rare that you see the other way around, although, we're kind of, our main topic tonight is kind of
absolutely
that. But I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like the zombie thing is really played out at this point. And I don't know really who this is for, except for maybe fans of Night of the Living Dead, and I don't know what the budget is on this or what, but I don't know. But I mean, look, people are really into, people keep saying superheroes are played out, and guess what? Marvel's more popular than ever. Amazon's trying a whole bunch of things with The Boys and Invincible, right? And DC's trying. I tried. I tried to.
It's okay, Corey.
Tried.
It's okay.
Gosh, that Snyder cut, man.
Ooh, yeah, no, we don't have to acknowledge it. That's perfectly fine.
But I mean, like this, I just feel like this is kind of that way, but also Walking Dead was still the biggest TV show like 2 years ago, and
absolutely,
there's an audience for it, and maybe this will be big in a way that I just don't understand because I'm kind of tired of the zombie thing. But yeah, like you said, the animation looks good. I'm really into interesting animation instead of always just like the super clean cut Disney style animation. Make sure every little thing is perfect and placed perfectly, and Easter egg over here, and the wind is blowing, so you need the leaves to blow this way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm really interested to see people take risks and do different things with animation, even if it's not the cleanest. So that's probably what I'll be looking at when I see this. Looks good though.
Yeah, it's by Warner Brothers. They're basically, and this is coming out right in time for Halloween. So this once again gives people something to look forward to. And quite honestly, the property is very old. And if this gets people to view the original, which is considered, the godfather of zombie films and kind of kickstarted that, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. So let's
Yeah,
see.
so
I mean, it could be good.
And as of right now, it's a Blu-ray. And I'm assuming this will come to, it is coming to streaming platforms as well. Exactly. So you can just digital rental and play it there. So if you want to do that, not get a disc. So check that out. Night of the Animated Dead. Then we move on to something else I didn't expect. And that is, I Know What You Did Last Summer, getting brought back as a TV series. We had Scream brought back as a TV series, which I think it finally stopped. Now they're going back to the movies. This is the opposite way. And this is from Amazon. Amazon, I don't know if they're trying to market. I mean, they've been hit or miss with their animated or with their original properties and movies and things like that. And I think they just need something that's going to be recognizable, get people in. And with this, we had Netflix doing their Fear Street trilogy, which was really huge for them.
Yeah,
maybe this is where they play.
Really
it's great. We enjoyed it fully, and just love the way they took that, just 3 movies, 1 each week, and it was great versus everything dropped at once, which built up some anticipation.
Right.
So Amazon, I believe they drop weekly, like The Boys and
well, it's like chunks of episodes weekly, right? Because like I remember The Boys, the second season started with like 3 episodes.
Sure.
And
Okay.
Right. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Amazon, and by the time I get to it, all the episodes are out anyway. So I just kind of get to binge it.
Yeah, and that's what sometimes I forget. I watch a couple, and then I forget, and then I'm like, oh, I can watch it all now, which is nice too. This is interesting though. Apparently, it is coming out. So apparently, it's coming on Amazon Prime on October 15th, but it's coming out weekly. And the finale won't happen until November 12th. But that's a good thing, because at least it's before Halloween that you can start watching it. I hate it when like scary things come out like Luigi's Mansion was my biggest pain. It came out like on Halloween. I'm like, you gave me no time to play it in advance. I got to do trick or treating. I got all of the other things. I can't just play Luigi now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So this looks interesting. I remember I don't really do horror movies, but I do remember when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, and my people convinced me to go see it because everybody knew I had a crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, this was a mistake. This was a this was a mistake. I don't do horror. It's just not a great movie. What am I doing? But I mean, man, I don't know if they do it right, it could be good. But like, I don't know. Scream failed, right? What was that? What was that one that you really liked a couple years ago? That was kind of like horror but more comedy. It was about a bunch of girls.
It wasn't Sabrina the Teenage Witch, was it?
No. Oh, I forget. It was only on for like 2 seasons, I think. Oh, I remember listening to these episodes and I just can't remember
Oh
what they.
boy. I like a lot of things, so
I know.
that's hard to ask. But yeah, I've lost my heart for many shows that didn't last.
Oh man, I forget what the show was called.
It'll come to you later.
It will. It'll come to us after
And
we're
I'll
done
get sad
recording.
because you'll remind me how it failed.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think if they do it right, I think they could be okay. But
yeah, I mean, and the premise is still, it's pretty easy premise. I mean, kids, I believe they were drunk driving and they end up killing someone, and rather than report it, they just try to forget it. And then I think it's the next summer they come back and they start getting this, I know what you did last summer, and it becomes like the Gordon fisherman tries to kill them because the guy wears the yellow coat, and so then it became a sequel with Brandy, and they went to the islands, and yeah, it kind of died off. But yeah, and we had a lot of big name actresses: Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan Felipe, and then. This one, though, includes Madison Iseman from Jumanji, Bill Heck from Lock and Key, Brian Zhu from iZombie, some folks that we don't know who they are, and then Brooke Bloom from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So to your point, Corey, they are dropping the first 4 episodes on October 15th, but then they do weekly until November 12th. So yeah, I mean, if it's bad, you know what? You still get your free shipping in Amazon.
yeah, I mean that's the thing with Amazon is I order so much off of Amazon that like the TV stuff, if I want to watch something, it's like, oh, this is free, I'll watch it here. It's man,
it's low risk, low return. Unfortunately, though, it probably causes us to buy more things from Amazon than we really should.
I know. Oh
yeah,
gosh, I spend way too much money on Amazon. Just got to get rid of it.
Retail therapy is kind of nice at times. Oh well.
Yeah. Till your wife finds the bill and oh gosh, what did you buy? I'm like,
I know.
Don't worry about it.
What's that box doing outside? Yeah, what's that? Yeah. What's that package from Amazon?
There's actually two packages sitting outside right now. I just got the notification that they were delivered.
Don't see it. Don't look. Oh my God. Yeah. Can you hide it, please? Can you put it in the garage?
Well, one of them is hers. They're baby bibs. So
okay, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like half the stuff is like it's stuff I have to buy. It's not something fun. So just enjoy the ride. But something that is really surprising, the next story is that we just got announced that Tim Drake, who is essentially Robin 3, is now coming out as the first LGBTQ member of the Bat family since Batwoman came out, and he's basically coming out as bisexual. This was revealed in a comic, Batman Urban Legends, where he's basically beating up villains, doing all this stuff, and as he's doing this, he's with a lot of heroes that just like this is like their day job. If you're fighting some villains that are pretty boring, you start kind of zoning out, and you start thinking about different things, and he just kind of comes to the conclusion that life's too short, and I have these feelings towards this person, and I'm going to take a chance. And, as brave as heroes are, sometimes even doing the silliest, just asking someone out or anything, that is a bigger step than fighting the biggest villain in the world. And that's exactly what happened. And this has gotten a lot of very positive coverage. It means a lot to a lot of people. There will always be people like, well, why did they do it with this character? Blah, blah, blah. I always say this with like comic book characters, especially heritage comic book characters. Their private lives are rarely ever covered, like hardly ever. And it's almost always
Right.
beating up a villain doing that. And if they happen to go out for dinner, that's like a surprise. Like their social
Mhm.
life is just not a big thing. So that is something with modern comics where they develop characters more and they talk about their social lives and what they're through,
Mhm.
maybe their past where they had some
I
a bad experience.
Yeah, I almost think it's more interesting now because how many times can you tell Batman's origin story, right? But like, what does he do when he's not Batman? I mean, people know that he's rich and whatever, but I think that those stories are more interesting because they've told and retold the Batman story over and over again at this point, and when he's not being Batman, like that seems to be more interesting at this point, just because we don't know that much, like you said, and uh, so the Tim Drake thing is like I think it's interesting, and I think it's good because it's we've all and you and I are old enough to grow up when like being gay was bad, like
Oh,
I mean, I
you're
remember.
if someone called you that negative name, it
Yeah,
was kind of like it was frowned upon, but it was also like accepted too. It was like nobody ever
yeah.
said, "Don't say that, man. That's horrible."
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and uh I think we're finally getting to the point, at least maybe not our generation fully, but the next generation, to fully accept like, okay, well, it's not bad for a man and a man to love each other. It's not bad for a woman and a woman. It's not bad to figure out who you are, and maybe you're not who you are on the outside that you feel on the inside. And so you take the steps to change things, and feel how you want to feel, like who you are. And this is a good step in that direction. And I think that the world needs more of this.
absolutely. And if this helps kids through or adults, some adults are struggling with this and it never came out because of different generations. But I mean, if this helps anyone, I'm just saying this makes me feel good about myself or that I can come out and be myself. The worst thing you can do is make people not be true to themselves. And realizing who you are and who you can love and being happy is just the it's like the smallest thing we should allow people to do. It's not like it's like, oh, okay, we'll let you have that one. No, it's one of our God-given rights, to be able to pursue what we love and are passionate about. And I know there's going to be people that are like, well, that's wrong, but that's
The
something
the
that's a completely different experience. And if
the
you want to
thing
feel that way, yeah, don't read
the
the
thing
comic.
the thing to me is like, why, like, if you don't like this, like, why do you care in the first place? How
Absolutely.
is it affecting you, right? It's not it's not your character, right? B, like, there's thousands of other straight characters that you can go read about or whatever. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't understand why people care so much about this stuff still. And unfortunately, I live in a state where that's very, you know, we'll just say it's, not to get political, but it's a very conservative kind of
Hmm.
red area that I live in, and people still kind of talk that way. Not so much anymore, but you still hear it, and it's just like, but why? Like, how does it affect you? You're if you want to be with a woman, you can go be with a woman, right? Like, who cares? I think this is good, especially to have such a young character like that's still going through things that normal young people would go through, minus the crime fighting and hanging out with Batman. But
Oh, you didn't go through that era?
I look, I missed it. My dad was more of a, I don't know, he was just not a superhero. I'm sorry, I
He
missed
didn't
it.
die in a crime alley and you had to avenge him. Aw, Corey. See what you missed out on?
I know, I know. Come on, Dad. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, Dad. You did the little thing for me. Make me an avenging crime fighter. That'd been perfect.
Right.
But yeah, so if you don't agree, you don't like it,
Hmm.
don't read it. Don't go out there and vilify people. And the cool part about this is he's coming out as bisexual, meaning he's still trying to figure out what he likes, but he's not letting labels and things getting in the
He's
way
not
of
putting up walls for
no.
himself just because somebody needs him to, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, we both have kids. Like how old is Tim Drake in this comic run? Probably
Probably
teens,
15,
mid-teens.
16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Old enough to
Like,
date.
yeah, like if one of our kids was going through something like this, I wouldn't want them to think that like we're gonna hold them back because of how we may feel or not feel or whatever. Like that would be terrible. I I don't know. I feel like that this is good to have, especially that age, like 15, 16 is like, that's kind of really when you kind of start figuring out who you are as a person and, how you want to move the rest of your life. And I think it's good to have a character like this at that age go through something like this because usually kids are still reading comics at that age or a little bit younger, right? And they can relate, and I think it's good. I really like this. I really do.
Yeah, I think that is what we're seeing, and we're allowing creators to have a voice. And like we said, if you don't like it, don't read it, but allow people to experience things that might help them through some interesting life changes. So, with that, Corey, the last story very quickly, because this verges on video game talk, but Charlie loves Sonic because his son loves Sonic. We really enjoyed the Sonic movie. I was more pleased with that movie than I should have been.
I know that
was
movie
like,
was way better than it had any right to be.
and it was like the last movie we could see in theaters before COVID hit. So it was like in a special place, which I'm glad it happened versus coming out. If this movie would have been so damaged if it came out like in May, because it wouldn't have been in theaters. And yeah, I think this is a good thing. So, but we got news that Idris Elba has been cast as Knuckles in the movie. Holy cow!
This is inspired casting for sure. I mean,
Holy
look,
crap!
you think Jim Carrey was inspired casting for Robotnik? Like this is I wonder if they're going for I don't know if you or your son watched the Sonic Boom series or played the Sonic Boom game, but Sonic was more of a, or Knuckles was more of a, he had that kind of personality, like that big kind of brooding, I'm just gonna punch my way through things and I'm the tough guy, I'm the big guy. He's like the Raphael, if you're gonna talk about Ninja Turtles, of the Sonic team. And I don't know, I said it was inspired casting, but now that I kind of think about it, I think this is kind of like a good way to go because Idris Elba has that deep voice. He's got power behind it, right? Like I think this is cool. Man, that first movie though was just it was way better.
It was a hoot. It was fun. Jim Carrey was awesome. I mean, Carrey, yeah.
Dude, he was full on Jim Carrey in that movie for sure.
Yeah. And it worked. It really worked. And now he's gonna have the big mustache. It's gonna be fantastic. It is funny though, because we were like, why is he doing this? I'm like, Idris Elba likes a paycheck. He needs to support his DJ career. So I'm perfectly cool with this, and it allows him to do things he loves. And you know what? I think he realizes that, hey, I got to get on these franchises and make some money too. And considering the first one actually did well and it wasn't vilified and wasn't a cash in, really,
yeah,
why not?
Who would have thought that Sonic the Hedgehog would have been the first good video game movie?
I know. Well, Detective Pikachu was not bad.
No, it wasn't bad. Sonic was definitely better though.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it was easy to come across and felt like a good movie, despite the fact that it could have been horribly wrong because of the property. So, and I really like the voice actor because he is John Ralphio on Parks and Rec, and he's fantastic. So he just everybody just looked like they're having a good time. So yeah, what can we say? Yeah, Corey, and you know what? Maybe one of your little kids, you could take them April 8th, 2022 to the theater. Have a good time.
My daughter is getting to that age where she's starting to recognize Mario and Sonic.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
She's getting there. She brings me my Switch controller sometimes, is like, she says, give me Mario. And I'm like, okay, we'll try. And then she'll hit that screen capture button on the controller about 65 times. And I'm like, okay, guess we're done. Guess we're done with that. So
yeah, playing games with kids is always a good time.
Sure. Yes.
Yes. We get beyond that now. Logan beats my butt at games, so we don't have to talk about it. He actually, one last thing.
Yeah, but your son is old enough to know how video games work.
Oh, he's
So,
15, Corey. So
yeah.
he is like a ridiculous player, and he's much better than I am now. And he knows so much more about Destiny. It's ridiculous. He's looking for a clan that can support him because I think he would be a great add to any clan because he's really good. But he's playing Hades today. He's like, yeah, Dad, I'm already in the third boss. I'm like, I have not even got to a boss yet. Man, so you know what? Kids will always surprise us, and you've got a great journey ahead with yours. But with that, we're going to move over and take ourselves over to our favorite geek establishment for libation, and that's the Geek Easy.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on this week. I'll kick it off because Corey's Geek Easy comment will lead us into the Thunderdome. So we'll start off here. Myself, I feel really blessed lately because I am just a big DC fan. I love Marvel too. But it's really been awesome that because we get all these awesome services like Disney Plus, movies, and also HBO Max, we're getting a lot of great hero content, and this is fantastic in different venues we saw. The funny one though is, it's your point, Corey, all these different services, this is where it gets so confusing. So HBO Max kind of consolidated all the DC universe content, but some things, like where the DC universe went to HBO Max, some things went to the CW, and that's what I'm going to talk about first, because Swamp Thing did that, and now Stargirl did it as well. The first season of Stargirl is on HBO Max as well, if you want to watch that. But Stargirl season 2 is now on the CW. It will go to HBO Max when the season ends. CW is owned jointly by Warner Brothers and also CBS, so it's a weird relationship. Doesn't make any sense.
It's there owned by CBS too.
Oh, yeah, so that's why
Is
you
that
got
why
like
it's
Walker,
the
Texas
CW?
Ranger. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very weird. It used to be the WB, then it used to be UPN, or the UPN. I don't even remember these things. It's so weird. So Stargirl season 2 has launched. Episode 1 launched. CW app, if you want to watch it, if you don't have a CW affiliate. The app is great though, because it has ads, but you can watch the show and the ads aren't intrusive.
That's how I watch the CW shows that are on now, like Flash and when Arrow
Legends
was on,
of Tomorrow, and all those shows are great. So it's there and it's easy to use. I like it. But Stargirl was a surprise to me. Stargirl is one of my favorite. I love that whole Justice Society era with Stargirl, what she got brought in. Jeff Johns basically revamped those characters, brought Stargirl on as basically to honor his sister who died, and basically brought her in as a someone to take over for Starman and basically carry on the mantle. And she's been a great character. And the fact is, we got the show, and it feels like Smallville in a lot of ways, but to today's audience, where it's teens. Sometimes you got like the monster of the week or villain of the week, but this one definitely feels like it's got an overarching arc of a story, and the characters are just great. Luke Wilson is fantastic. You've got Amy Smart as the mom. You've really Joel McHale plays a character from the past who shows back up. And they just do a really good job of bringing these teens and the mythos of the JSA and modernizing it, making it very fun, like almost like 90210 too. So it's really been a lot of fun. I like it. It's got a lot of heart. It's really fun. And the last season ended where we thought we've got the villains completely beat and it's over, and what are we going to do next? Because they probably didn't know if they were going to get a second season. Second season's back. And that's where they're at now. The heroes are kind of like, well, we beat all the villains, so we really don't have to patrol. So Stargirl really feels like she's the only one that really feels like, I've got to still be vigilant because the villains may come, and like the parents are like, don't do that stuff. This can't be your life. You're still a teen. You should be living for now and just enjoying it. And so we're kind of in that mindset of like, okay, is something going to happen? Where is this going to go? And I won't spoil it, but I'm really excited about where they are going. They've put some things out there. They've talked about one of the main villains that's coming back this season, who is a fantastic villain with Starman, and I just like it. He was kind of like an anti-hero villain. I don't know if he's going to have that role, but I just really like what they're doing, and you see the drama, and it's still teen drama as well. So you have a little bit of romances and things like that, which are fun, which I loved as a teen. I like that kind of soap opera element. So if you're interested, I think it's really fun. It's something you watch with your wife, your family, your kids, because it's very PG-ish, maybe not really PG-13 because it doesn't really feel hardcore. But there are deaths and things like that, but nothing like gruesome. So if you like this kind of fun entertainment, Stargirl is on the CW. If you want to catch up, HBO Max, I think maybe the first season is also on CW as well.
Yeah,
So.
It's definitely on my list. We're borrowing our HBO Max subscription from my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
So
Sharing is caring.
It's Stargirl, it's Doom Patrol, and Titans are all on the list of things to watch. When I saw the first kind of commercial for Stargirl, I was like, man, this looks really fun. It looks like when Supergirl first started.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, it's light. It doesn't take itself too seriously like the way that Arrow did. No offense to Arrow, great show, but like super, super serious. And, the Flash is a little bit lighter, but still has its serious moments. And when Supergirl came out, it was just kind of this light area kind of thing. And Stargirl kind of reminded me of that. So like, I'm kind of excited because I'm more into that lighter kind of, outlook on the superhero genre. I'm not into like the super R-rated stuff, so.
Yeah, I think it fits that mold. And I think the good thing about this too, it's 10 or 11 episodes too, which really improves the pacing on these shows. The CW is still trying to do like the 22 episode thing, which is just too long. It's just too many filler episodes.
Yeah, you could always tell the filler episodes, especially in something like The Flash or something. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is like, how many times are we going to have this conversation with Iris again? You know what I mean? Oh,
yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I like this one. It's just paced better. It's fun. So I think you'd like it, Corey. A lot of these shows are like, they're my treadmill time, or there's something where I've got to do something where I can do that and just absorb it. Sometimes even when I'm doing like editing of podcasts and things, I'll have it in the background. And so I'll look over and say, oh, what's going on there? Okay. So sometimes it's not heavy listening, but so check it out. Stargirl, along with Titans season 3 dropped this week as well. Now they did the other thing where they dropped 3 episodes right away, so I'm already behind, but it will go to weekly after this. So I watched episode 1, and wow, talk about heavy. Titans is heavy, Corey. But it's great. I really enjoyed the show. First season was a little dicey. Second season got better, and it's a show that's gotten better, and it's really embraced a lot of the characters and doing some fun things with them. But this one starts off really heavy, and I'm curious where it's going to go because I don't really know who the big bad will be, how they're going to manage it. Seems like the team's in a good place as we start, but that's rarely how this goes. It's never, the team's usually in a good place and it goes to hell and then they finally get back together. So, and I don't want to give too much away about it. We get introduced to Barbara Gordon. She's the commissioner, which is cool. And we do get brought the heroes. You don't see the whole team back yet. But you do see some of the key members. And I'm just really curious where they go. But I mean, this is the first official season on HBO Max. I don't know if that changes anything because it was already hardcore in DC Universe with dropping F-bombs. So, and they haven't changed that, Corey. So it's pretty much on board. So, but if you like that, and you're fine with that, it's fine. But I think it's, it's a note for me, which I'm pretty happy with. But I mean, I could get it. So like, I don't want my heroes saying F-bombs and things like that. I totally get it. But if you're all on board and try it out and understand that the first half of the first season really takes some time.
I always go into a TV show expecting the first half of the first season to kind of be like, nah, they're feeling their way out. They got to figure this out, right? Like, I mean, Arrow was like that, right? The first 15 episodes were just bad.
Oh, yeah.
And what didn't get to the last 5 or 6 episodes of the first season to where that even got remotely watchable.
Yep.
So
yeah, so check it out. Like I said, 3 episodes are out, and I don't even know. I think this is probably 10 or 11 episodes too. So it's going to be coming out through into October. So you got time to catch up, and if you miss it, it'll be there waiting for you if you have HBO Max. Thanks, Mom, for sharing.
Yeah, really. Is it my turn? It's my turn.
Oh yeah, it's your turn. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So, and what we're gonna do before we talk about the last one, we're gonna move and take your last one, and we're gonna put that into the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome, right?
Yep.
Cool. So if we're sticking on HBO Max, I did watch the Snyder Cut finally. About maybe a month ago, I guess. It's Man, that took me about 3 or 4 days to watch. It was a movie. It happened. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just kind of like, I enjoy watching Batman beat people up. I think here's the thing about the DC stuff is like the casting is so good. I love the cast. I think the casting is great. I wish they had someone, maybe not like on the level of Marvel in terms of like figuring out how to put these characters together. It just feels like a movie that they made to play catch up. That's what this movie felt like. And you can totally see it. Even in the Snyder Cut, you can see it. And it's like, man, I just want like, where's my Batman movie first, right? Like, Man of Steel we got, which was, to me, it was okay. It was better than the Brandon Routh one, but like, it was okay. And then, all the other movies came after, and it's like, well, okay, Wonder Woman was Captain America with a woman, essentially. I mean, no offense, Gal Gadot is great, but like, that movie was clearly just somebody saw Captain America, the first Avenger, and was like, we should do that. And yeah, sorry if you can hear my son. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Kids happen, man.
He's teething, so
Ooh.
it's that his bottom gums are thinning out. So
some whiskey time.
Yeah. Oh man, we have the children's Tylenol stuff, but it's just like don't give them the wrong dosage. It's
no, I remember those bad days. Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, yeah, good bad times. But you'll get through
Yeah.
it, and you'll be a better man for it. And you're like, remember those bad times? Yeah.
Man, it's crazy too because they're literally on the other side of the house. Like I'm on the far end by the front door, they're by the back end of the house, and he just
voices carry.
He's a loud one. So I apologize, everybody. I did finally. I finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki. Finally, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We kind of talked a little bit before the show. Definitely paint by numbers kind of Marvel thing, if you will. Not really a lot of experimentation. I think the big thing was, finally giving Sam the shield was, Black Captain America was a big deal. I think I really thought it was well done. Sometimes like I'm always in for the message and to give, the voices that aren't always heard, but sometimes you can definitely tell when it feels forced, this didn't really feel forced to me. I think it felt really good to just see that happen, especially because like you can do so many cool things now with Captain America with wings too. Like it's just a cool thing. And the message he did during the last episode was pretty powerful. As a mid-30s white man, I felt it. I can't imagine what people of I can't imagine what the Black community felt about that, because it was really powerful, and I'm really happy for that. It was really good. I love the relationship between Sam and Bucky. The power broker stuff was interesting. U.S. Agent, I mean, that's going to be cool if they ever do like a Thunderbolts thing, which seems like they might.
And you haven't seen Black Widow yet. I won't say anything.
Yeah. Well, I know some of the things in Black Widow. So because like when you live in the space that we live in, you're going to see spoilers the next day, right? It's just if you don't see it that first day, you just might as well just, go see it, just whatever.
Absolutely.
Close your eyes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, Loki was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I did watch all of Loki. It was really different, at least to what I'm used to with the Marvel stuff. It was really, I like the time stuff. I like the Owen Wilson. It was like the best part of that whole show.
Oh wow, I'm on a jet ski.
Yeah, he's so just like he's just Owen Wilson in Loki. Like he's just Owen Wilson in the Marvel universe. He's just an Owen Wilson variant. Is all.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
If he never made Wedding Crashers.
Right. Man, it would have been. Did you see the Cars meme going around where he's driving the Lightning McQueen car, and
Oh, that's funny.
and then instead of the pizza car, then they zoom in on his face. He says "ka-chow" instead of whatever he says, like belt buckle up or whatever. It's a good one. It's a good
Nice.
one. I'm gonna need you to explain Kang to me because I know he's going his He Who Remains.
Yep.
His variant is Kang the Conqueror, right? That's
Yes.
where they're going.
Yes.
And
Eh,
Kang the Conqueror is like a time
Yep.
guy. Which,
Yeah.
isn't he usually associated with the Fantastic Four though?
In a way, yes. He's been an Avengers villain too. The simple way to put this is he's somebody from the future who gets tech, can go back in time, and over time he's been different people. He's been like the living pharaoh, which is just this weird little character. He was a mortis. He was all these different versions, and so to a large extent of what he who the Time Lord he said there's different versions of me. And so that makes me think, yep, we're going to see different versions of him. And at the very end, you see that one statue of him. That's kind of how Kang looks. And you see him with typically the purple mask. But Kang is one of those kind of like anti-heroes, just he's doing his own thing. And he doesn't always mean to do wrong. He has motives to do his own thing and not necessarily be a villain. So over time, there's been some really great series in the past with Kang. And it's kind of like, who is he going to be? Is this going to be revealed as Kang? And there was even a Young Avengers comic back and I don't know if you ever read it or not, but basically there was a character named Iron Lad who were like, okay, is this because they were supposed to be all the Young Avengers? That was Kang as well. So it was like, he keeps appearing and keeps doing his things, and which is kind of one of those things. So the fact that we've got this version of Kang that we saw, who I felt was kind of like very understated, but I think it's just setting us up for different versions of Kang that will be definitely more in our face. That will try to change the timeline for their own purposes.
You think like each individual kind of movie moving forward, there's going to be some variant of Kang that's like the villain for that hero, and then maybe like when they all come together again, they're going to fight different variants of Kang. Is that how this is kind of going? Or
it could go. We could go to like a multiverse war in the future, and that's where I think everybody is curious. Like, what is that next big thing with Marvel? Because we had Infinity War, we had Endgame. What's it going to be? We thought it might be Invasion, but that's going to be a TV series. Is it going to be something else where it brings everyone together? That does something different, and what's going to emerge from that. So, I mean, this is where it's Marvel at its most critical, where because we're going to get all these new franchises that I don't know if all of them will be as big as Marvel would like them to be, but it's allowing them to open so many more doors that it might be worth it not being as big so they can do some cool things in the future that could create some huge opportunities. But, I don't know. Mom and Pop may not be excited about Shang-Chi, Eternals, another Doctor Strange film, another Ant-Man film, or even a weirder Thor film, which is kind of funny because then the biggest movie is going to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, which, obviously Doctor Strange is going to revolve around the multiverse, right? I mean, it's literally called the Multiverse of Madness, but like Loki really opened up a multiverse, right? And then the rumors with Spider-Man, I don't know how true they are, is that they're going to do like a Spider into the Spider-Verse type thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which, would be kind of cool because I actually like, they weren't great movies, but I actually really liked Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Like, not the movies weren't great, but like him himself was great. I feel like maybe we get a Spider-Gwen finally. I don't know. I feel like the multiverse opens up a whole slew of things, right? And like the rumor with Deadpool 3 is like he gets sucked into the MCU through the multiverse, and it's like there's still that Wolverine road trip movie is still
Fantastic Four, X-Men, all of these
right.
things that are just like, and then there's characters we've never even seen yet. You even mentioned Thunderbolts, Corey. So I mean, there are so many storylines they can pick, and this is where it gets exciting because the fact that a lot of these actors who were in the core movies at the beginning have moved on to different things, so they've got to do some different things, and if those actors
there's still that rumor now after, I mean, we'll probably get into it in the Thunderdome, but like that Captain Carter movie is now a rumor going around, which I would love to see because Haley Atwell is just a fantastic actor, and especially in that role.
Yeah, so actually that's probably a good point. So at this point, the Geek Easy is saying it's time to cash our check, leave a tip. But Corey, we're going to continue this conversation because the mutants are excited. So we're going to go and take a trip to the places where everyone's vaccinated, they wear a mask, and that's the Thunderdome.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we're continuing our conversation from the Geek Easy. And it's all about what if. We're going to do 2 parts. Basically, we're going to give our thoughts on the first episode of Disney's Marvel What If. And then we're going to talk about where we would like to see this concept carry out outside of the Marvel What If concept. So let's start with Marvel What If. This is the first episode. I think we're getting 6 episodes, and they're weekly. A lot of people were a little frustrated that they only got 1. But these are really standalones, except for the fact that we are getting kind of a carry through, which is Captain Carter. This episode was all about Captain Carter, Peggy Carter, who essentially goes in and replaces Steve Rogers and becomes the super soldier we all know and love. This is opened up with the Watcher talking about essentially all of these different realities that are now possible. He watches, but he doesn't intercede. He is the Watcher, Awatu, voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who is fantastic. And at this point, we have the episode picking up very much like the original Captain America, the first Avenger. And the only thing that changes is we get, the one thing that kicks it off is the fact that Peggy Carter gets to be the super soldier instead of Steve Rogers because of Hydra involvement. So with that, Corey, I mean, we don't have to go into all the details of the show. It was like 34 minutes long. We got the Marvel intro, and it at the ended with a very animated version of it, which was kind of cool. And it kind of showed us this was going to be different. And I believe all of the episodes will have the similar animated style, which feels very much, it's CG with almost like they kind of even scanned all of the MCU characters that we've seen before, because it looks very similar to how they look.
It's like a I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's clearly 3D animated, right? Like the character models are 3D, but it's like a cell shaded style, like a lightly cell shaded style. It's very kind of unique. It really feels more like a animated comic book than the MCU really does. Like I think that maybe that's what they were going for, but I like it. I like the style. It's unique. It took me a minute to get used to, but definitely feels unique.
I don't know if they're doing any motion capture at all, face scanning. Like I said, I don't know, but in a way, I think it's successful because they could have gone a different route. I mean, we've played the Avengers game, or have you played the Avengers game?
I struggled through the Avengers game. Yes, I did.
Yeah, so how it can go badly when you try to make a unique style and it doesn't really please anybody. It's like I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I know we don't really want to talk about games, but like Avengers, like you look at the Avengers game, right? And you're like, it's the art style isn't different enough to differentiate it from the MCU. And in fact, like they're actually introducing the MCU costumes into the game now. It's like, but you wanted the actors to look different, but they just look like B tier knockoffs of them, right? And it's just weird enough to take you out of it and to not feel like a different experience, right? You look at Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on Switch, which not a great game, but at least it has like a distinct, unique art style. Or
very much so.
Even the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy game looks unique and different enough from the MCU. You're like, okay, this is its own thing. I mean, Rocket and Groot look the same, but you can't really chains are
It very
wrecking
much
it.
looks it very much looks like the comic version, which
Mhm.
at least they're bracing something that's like,
Uh-huh.
okay, we're taking our inspiration from that versus we're just, it's like it reminds me also, sorry, Charlie, the Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, where
Mhm.
Captain America had the small head but the weird body, and none of the
Mhm.
characters looked right. So it's like really hard when you take characters that we all know, and the style that you have to see on the screen really
Mhm.
distracts you. And this didn't distract me. I felt
Yeah,
like it really was a home run.
Yeah, I mean, even if you want to go that route too, it's like when you watch the MCU stuff and then you go to like Disney World or Disneyland and you see the like just normal people dressing up like these characters, like, kind of like, oh well, it just I feel like I'm at some convention where you're cosplaying this character. No offense, Charlie. I know you're really into cosplay, and I love your Indiana Jones one. I think it's your best one. Please keep wearing that. Indiana Jones is my favorite character. Keep doing it. But like you go to Disney World or Disneyland, you see like this guy who's dressed like he just has like these brown pants and a leather uh, jacket on, and you're like, oh well, he's supposed to be Star-Lord because he's standing next to this little robotic Groot, right? He looks nothing like Chris Pratt, and you're just like, oh, well, whatever. We could do a whole episode on how I feel about non-cartoon characters
Yes.
at Disney, right? You could do
Yeah.
a whole thing on that. But
It's-
back to your point, it just throws you off when it's just like something's just a little off, but doesn't go enough the other direction.
Yeah, and Marvel's gone that route. They want to identify the MCU as like kind of the thing with Marvel, and when
Mhm.
if you don't nail it right, it's going to be distracting. So I really, whoever was the animation director or the creative director, really I think did a great job, because I felt not only did the animation, the style look good, some of those action scenes were
Mhm.
really impressive. Where Katie, where she is just going through and hitting people with a shield, going through. It's very dynamic,
Mhm.
feels, and it's like I've seen bad animation where it's
Mhm.
like it feels tired.
Well, yeah,
and
we watched a
bad.
bunch of bad 80s cartoons. We know
Oh
what
yeah,
bad animation looks
exactly.
like.
Like I'm just thinking of like the new He-Man animated versus the original. It's like you can do so many cool things with good animation. I think this just nails it because things felt impactful. The motion was great. It felt like a movie and or just a high-end piece of content. And that's really
Mhm.
what I wanted them to succeed. And it's great because I've always felt like they're like DC's doing a lot of great animated stuff. Marvel's
Mhm.
just been ignoring it. Now I
Yeah.
hopefully this means this is kind of like the momentum will say we can really bring some storylines to life that might not make it in live action, but we
Plus,
can do
like,
more.
this is a way to keep, like, if you want to bring Robert Downey Jr. back in as Iron
Oh yeah.
Man, and like, you don't want to pay him to like, or he doesn't want to be like in the mocap suit or whatever, you can say, hey, can you spend 2 days in a recording booth so we can get your lines and you can go home? We'll pay you what, $1 million to say like these 10
Yeah.
lines or whatever, and you can get out of here. But yeah, I really liked Captain Carter. Captain America is probably my favorite of the MCU kind of character line, especially like Peggy Carter is like low key probably my favorite side character in the MCU, and I don't think she gets used enough after that first movie, obviously because well, there's only one movie that's set in the 40s. But my
Well,
wife and I,
she had that ABC series.
we watched Agent Carter. We watched it weekly. We
Yeah.
loved it, and we
Yeah.
kept hoping that there would be a season 3, and there wasn't. Not that it was like a great show. It was actually not
yeah.
a good show, but we just loved watching it, and we were like, man, season 3, where is it? And they canceled it, and there's that rumor that they were going to launch a 3rd season on Disney Plus, where it actually coincided with the end of Endgame, where Steve comes back, and this 3rd season ends with him walking through the door, and they're like, it ends just like Endgame did, where they're dancing, but didn't happen. So but yeah, like the beginning just kind of like Steve gets shot, and so she jumps in the chamber instead, right? Like, and it's Captain Carter. She jumps out. She's I mean, she looks like Steve did when he came out, right? It's essentially like just taking that, like, let's change a couple of these scenes. She's the leader now, right? I really like this episode.
I did too. I just really think there's some interesting things. Not everybody showed back up as a voice actor, and I would say it's one call out here. I felt like, and this is where the guy who played Steve Rogers is not. That was not Chris Evans.
I know,
and he did a fantastic job.
If you would have told me that, I would have said that's Chris Evans. He sounds just like him.
It was fantastic. It was wonderful. But then we had Sebastian Stan, who kind of just sounded like he was just getting a paycheck. Kind of felt like, eh.
I mean,
so
that's what I felt like with a lot of the voice acting in this thing. It was just like, well, these maybe it's just because maybe some of these actors don't have that animated voiceover type work before, so they don't really know how to act as a like watching the cartoon on the screen while they're acting, right? Like you see Hugh Jackman do a lot of like the Wolverine sounds and stuff, and I'm sure you've seen the videos of him like especially for Logan where he's in the recording booth and he's actually like running in place and like making all these sounds and stuff while to do some of the dubs and stuff. Maybe these actors just don't have that experience. And yeah, that was probably like the one thing with this episode I could definitely tell, like, okay, well, Steve Rogers sounds the best because they got a voiceover actor to play that character. But then the rest just sounded like they're clearly reading the lines off of a sheet. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Although Haley Atwell I thought she sounded so excited and just wanted to be there, which I'm like, maybe that's what it's all about, right? I mean, maybe it's like you just want to bring this character to life and give it love and things like that. And you'd think it's like, well, why? And to your point, Corey, I think you're absolutely right. Voice actors need a good voice director, and they know what to expect and listen and perform on it. But traditional actors, they may just not care. I don't know.
And maybe that's like Marvel's inexperience with animated stuff recently, right? I mean, aside from the Spider-Man cartoons and like some of the Saturday morning cartoons that are on now, like aside from that, Marvel doesn't really have, like we brought it up earlier, DC has amazing animated stuff, right? I always look at Batman animated series, Mask of the Phantasm, the Batman Beyond movies, like the Return of the Joker, like those movies are amazing movies, and Marvel has zero of that. I can't point to one Marvel thing that says, oh, that's comparable to Mask of the Phantasm or Batman the Animated Series, right? I think the closest thing we have is like the X-Men show from the 90s, right?
which is so weird, Corey, because I think about this because Disney is a heritage animated. They could borrow Pixar's voice directors. They could dip into so many options.
Yeah, like Disney is, you think of animation, you think of Disney.
Yeah. They're Disney animated studios, Pixar. And then we think of even the Spider-Verse film, which is one of the best superhero movies regardless. But that's Sony. So it's like,
I mean, you could even go to Lucasfilm because of Rebels and
Clone Wars,
and Clone Wars and stuff,
Yeah, so I think there's an opportunity there. Maybe that's where they feel like they need some help. And I think where Marvel has been like the big dog, and maybe they're in this scenario where they just don't realize that they can't, be great at everything. And maybe this will open the door, because I think that's been the biggest criticism has been the voice performances have been inconsistent, but the ones that really stand out do a great job. And the rest are like, it's not horrible. It's just not exceeding expectations.
But like we said earlier, you can tell like Chris Evans isn't playing Steve, right? But you can tell that whoever's playing him is a voiceover actor, and that performance is the best in the episode. Clearly, the entire at least I feel that way.
Yeah, and I thought Howard Stark was great too. Whoever, he was great. I can't remember if it was the original actor doing him, and that's where it's like we're not going to really always know who is playing who, and we know in future episodes we're going to see different actors reprising and some not. So I hope it's not as noticeable, but for a first episode. And the great thing about this is, just like What If is supposed to do, where it lands at the very end, and we don't know the repercussions. Was there a Bucky Winter Soldier? What happened to Steve? What went on as Peggy Carter reemerges with Nick Fury and Hawkeye at the end? That is so cool. And sorry, spoilers, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it's implied.
I mean, I'm sure everybody listening to this show knows what happens in the Thunderdome. We're going in spoilers, full spoilers. It's I really think that they have something with Captain Carter though. Like I if you want that strong female lead and you're really going to kind of lean into this multiverse thing, I really feel like you could bring Haley Atwell back in a live action version, which I think there's a rumor that she might be in Doctor Strange, right? Is there a rumor like that? I don't know. I feel like not to say anything bad about Brie Larson or anything, but like Captain Marvel was kind of like it was low tier Marvel movie to me, right? Like it just wasn't it wasn't great, you know.
She has a hard time really. I ever felt like at any time she felt like she was bringing a lot of huge presence. I mean, she's a good actress, but I never felt like I am Captain Marvel and you felt it. I mean, that's where I always kind of felt like, okay, I get it. Maybe she'll grow on me because she's only been on a screen a couple of times, and maybe that's what we need. And that's what's so hard about a movie, right? You only get like 2 hours and maybe 30 minutes on screen. So, but I mean, to your point, Corey, about Captain Carter, maybe we don't get Steve again, but we get Haley Atwell as this, super soldier, Avenger, showing up back in the MCU in that role. Now, is that going to disenfranchise people? Are like, well, what about Falcon? Does that make him seem lesser? I don't know, but I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you have multiple. They've juggled multiple leaders though, right? Like Tony Stark and Steve and Thor were all like, they kind of shared that leadership role at one point or another, right? I don't see why you couldn't have Peggy and Sam share that leadership role, right? And Shields.
She's Captain Britain, essentially.
Yeah.
She's not Captain America. So that's where and that's where we have not seen that multinational presence with Marvel, where we've got like Alpha Flight for Canada. We've got like the Captain Britain and some other characters, Union Jack from the UK. We've got just saw the Soviet super soldiers to a certain extent, and we could get Ursa Minor showing up with that. So that's a way to do it as well. Just make it more international and have some fun with it.
And like, you don't necessarily have to like, it could be a Avengers Guardians of the Galaxy situation where maybe you just don't have them together for a while until the giant team up, right? Like maybe that's how you go about it, and maybe you'll have Easter eggs here and there, right? Like maybe Bucky shows up right at one point in the Captain Carter movie or whatever. I would actually like to see it as like a Disney Plus spy thriller show.
Absolutely.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. We're just really it's this is what I love. We're experimenting. We're trying different things, and this is just episode 1. We're gonna get so many cool things that come out of this, and it's like they can go wherever they want.
And something tells me they're going to do more with this character anyway, since like they've confirmed that she's going to carry over to the second season, which means they probably have bigger plans for this character in the long run, right? In the grand scheme, that's what it tells me. I know that these are supposed to be kind of one-off stories, but if this is the character you're carrying over, they have to have plans, right? And Haley Atwell's expressed so much interest in keeping on playing this character. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
I'm going to talk. So sometimes what we do, Corey, we say, "What do you think?" And we're going to talk about that where we want to see this concept go out. But last thing I just want to say is, what if Steve ends up being the Winter Soldier? Like he gets captured, and so then it's Peggy. It's not just her best friend. It's someone that she
loves,
things she saw and loves. And Steve's the same way. He's on ice, gets brought back. And gets refreshed, and maybe he, and I don't know how you work it because he was not. I mean, so that could be something that could be the twist, because right now we don't know if Bucky's going to be the one, the Winter Soldier, or not in this world. So that's where we can see all of these different things that could make it more complicated.
Right, and I mean we see Steve get released, right? Like she saves him, she saves all of them. Bucky doesn't, quote unquote die, right? And like you see them all. The Howling Commandos are all there. Like there's no Winter Soldier stand-in yet.
No.
So, but the other thing we didn't talk about though, right, was Steve wearing the Ironmonger suit or the
which was
Hydra
called with a
Stomper.
Hydra Stomper, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
There's an
was
action figure coming out.
Oh, is
Yeah.
there? That's
Oh
cool.
yeah, it looks great. Yeah, there's actually a Captain Carter figure as well. So they're doing a line of the What If. There's a zombie Captain America coming out too. So this is going to be really cool. Now that's where I'm really excited.
Yeah,
Marvel Zombies is a great comic book. So
Yeah.
the fact that we're even getting that on Disney Plus, wow.
Yeah. Isn't Spider-Man the zombie hunter with the Doctor Strange cape? Is that what I saw, or was that
I think
was that
so.
the
Yeah,
the
we're getting
episode that yeah.
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, it's not 100% clear yet, but yeah, I'm just so excited for this. This has been so excited for me. I just love this stuff.
What are the other episodes? I know Tony gets saved by Killmonger, right? That's an episode.
Yep, Killmonger. We've got T'Challa taken up as the
Star-Lord.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, let me just look that up really quick. I'll keep talking, Corey, and I'll look it up.
Yeah. This episode has me excited for what they could do with the multiverse stuff, because Marvel's been really kind of safe, making sure, okay, everything's on the same timeline. This is how everything lines up. And then Loki kind of just blew everything out of the water, and now everything is possible. And I think that's the right way to do it, where I know DC's kind of doing their multiverse stuff already with the TV shows are a multiverse, and then the HBO Max stuff is a multiverse, and the movies are a part of a multiverse, and the Flash is going to kind of tie it all together, right? With Flashpoint. It's still a Flashpoint movie, right?
Yep.
Which I thought was cool when he showed up on the Flash TV show and they saw each other. And like that's kind of how he started calling himself the Flash, was because of the TV show. I thought that was really kind of it was an
interesting idea. Yeah. And whether they'll be able to pull it off and still do it, because DC, to your point, doesn't have that person that is that connector, except for Jim Lee, which I don't know how much pull he has with Hollywood executives, but we'll see. I hope it goes well. But I've got basically they've only announced the first 3 episodes officially, what they're going to be about. Next episode is T'Challa, basically, and not Peter Quill, picked up as by Yondu. Then we've got episode 3, which is interesting that they're going back to Loki. Basically, Loki presents himself to Earth as the king of Asgard. So we're gonna get a Marvel Zombies. We're gonna get a Killmonger as Black Panther, I believe. We're gonna get something with like you said, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, if it happens to be all about the Marvel Zombies, and I'm not sure what the rest will be. Yeah, it's 7 episodes. No. Oh no, and then it even says this episode 8 is supposed to be about Marvel Zombies, which is weird that they say this. So 9 episodes is awesome through October.
Cool.
Oh,
Awesome.
I love this. Just keep giving me stuff, Disney, because I don't know what's coming next. I was really suffering after Loki, because I'm like, I'm not in a bad batch, so give me something. What If? Thank you. And then we get something from there.
Yeah, I was looking at the list of like just Star Wars and Marvel Disney Plus stuff alone is like, it's so overwhelming to look at on paper, but like I'm into all of it, surprisingly. I like, because like I'm not 100% in on the weird stuff all the time, right? Like WandaVision was definitely a show where I was questioning. I was like, okay, well, I don't really know much about Vision. I know Wanda is like, part of the mutants, but not really, and especially in the MCU, she's being treated differently a little bit. But we really only started watching WandaVision because my wife loves the old 50s and 60s sitcoms, and she wanted to watch it for that, to see what they did with it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And we ended up watching all of it in like, I don't know, we watched the first 5 episodes in one weekend. That's how much she loved it. And I was like, man, this is really good. And it actually turned Wanda into one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Like, you just, as powerful as she is, like that whole moment where she loses everything is so relatable, and so just it's what they're doing on Disney Plus is really something special. And I know like people look at it and it's like, oh, it's Disney and they're doing too much or whatever, but like if you really just take the time and just watch, even if like, and what Marvel does so well too is like even though if you want to keep up on everything, you watch it all and you can find the little things. They do such a good job of making sure everything is, you can watch it as a standalone piece and not feel like you're missing out. But
Absolutely.
if you do watch everything, you will pick up on the little things. Or if you read this comic run or this comic run, or maybe watch this show from like the 70s and they have a little Easter egg in there. They're so good at that, right? Like I was freaking out when what's his face who played Quicksilver
Oh yeah,
in the
Evan
X-Men
Peters.
showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Showed up at the door and I was like freaking out. My wife's like, "What are
Why?
you doing?" Yeah, cuz like we watch these movies, but she just doesn't really pay attention. She's not as into it as I am,
Sure.
right? She's like, "What are you freaking out?" I'm like, "That's Quicksilver from the X-Men movie. They're bringing the X-Men." And then obviously we saw what happened. And
And to your point, I think this is where, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I prefer TV to a large extent because
Mhm.
that's where you really get to know a character. You get more
Right.
screen time, and that's
Mhm.
where I'm so disappointed to a large extent that we won't get Chris Evans back again and really get more into him. We're
Yeah.
lucky to get, and we were lucky to get him on screen for how many movies, and he was only on screen maybe 30 minutes out of a 2-hour film. So
Mhm.
think about that. I mean, but then we're getting, how much more time with Wanda and just
Mhm.
really getting to know that character and all those things. So that's where I think where TV really can really bring these characters and make them your favorite.
If Disney Plus was around when, I mean, I know Disney didn't own Marvel at the time, but like when Iron Man and all these movies were starting, Captain America: The First Avenger would have been like a 7 or 8 episode Disney
Oh
Plus
yeah,
series.
because nobody wanted to do a time
Yeah.
phased Marvel movie. It's like that's a huge risk. But I mean, yeah, you could have done a Band of Brothers Captain America style show, and it'd have been fantastic, and we would have loved it. And every one of those characters that were part of the Howling Commandos,
Yeah.
everybody there
You
would have
really could have
gotten
gotten to know them too,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and we saw them again in this episode, and it was like, it's Dum Dum Dugan, and he's
Yeah.
doing something. Oh my God, very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
So I think these are all great things, and so Corey, just before we depart, the mutants want to know our thoughts on: is there any other series outside of Marvel that you think the what if concept could work? It doesn't have to be animated. It could be live action, could be a one-off movie. But is there something you feel like, wow, they could really do something cool with this concept where you take a differing timeline or concept and say, let's do something fun with it? So what is yours?
I mean, I think Star Wars is perfectly set up for this, right? Like, oh, well, maybe Luke does turn to the dark side in Return of the Jedi, or we were kind of talking earlier, but Star Wars has kind of already done this in video games where I don't know if you played The Force Unleashed or The Force Unleashed 2, but that DLC was all about alternate timelines. It was really awesome where you were instead of Starkiller turning into a good guy, he remains a Sith Lord, and he goes and goes to Cloud City and takes out Han and Chewie, and then the Return of the Jedi episode where he kills Luke. I think you actually fight Luke and kill him. The games have already done it, and I think it just sets up so many interesting things, right? Where I think one of the big theories before 7, 8, 9 came out was like, well, did Luke actually fall to the dark side because he failed? Or, that was, people were saying that, and I thought it was an interesting idea. I don't really agree with it because I think when you watch that original trilogy, Luke is all about overcoming the odds to stay a good person, right? And if you just turn him into a villain, I think that it would have just wiped the whole aspect of those original movies out of the water. But yeah, I think Star Wars is like a perfect setup for that. Like, what if Anakin never turned to the dark side? You could do a whole thing of that. Or what if Qui-Gon didn't die? Or what if they killed the Emperor and Vader became the Emperor? Or there's so many things you could do in Star Wars, or alternate timelines, or separate things. I mean, I think Star Wars is the perfect setup for that.
That's a great point. I mean, Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I've always said Star Wars, to a large extent, tries to stay out of the original trilogy for their content, because I don't know if it's like the Holy Grail. It's like you can't touch it, people will be offended. But
Yeah.
I think that's where you could do some really cool things. Kind of like, what would have
Mhm.
happened if, we saw a different path with, what if Leia basically ascended as, the Jedi Master and led the Jedi and did the Academy and things like that. We just haven't seen that. And I think there's so many things that are cool that they could do in Star Wars that I've wanted.
Mhm.
But at this point, I'm just really waiting until more things are for me with Star Wars than what largely we're given right now, and that's fine. I just am waiting in the wings for something cool with Star Wars to really energize me.
And I really liked episode 7 when it came out. I did think it was kind of safe, but I think you needed safe after what happened, the backlash of the prequel trilogy, and maybe some of the other things that happened in between there. So I thought you had to play it safe, but I thought it was a really good start to a trilogy, and Rogue One, and we were like, man, Disney's kind of nailing it.
Yeah.
And I liked Solo. I know it's not like the greatest Star Wars movie. I liked it. It was okay, but like you could definitely see, especially around episode 8 with how divisive it was in Solo, like you're going to recast the character that can't be replaced in Star Wars fiction. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Harrison Ford is Han Solo. I don't know if anybody can really argue that, right? Like Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford embodies that character, but you could recast Indiana Jones, right? That was kind of the idea originally, right? Where they wanted him to be this James Bond style character where like his adventures will continue even if Harrison Ford doesn't want to, right? And that was like the wink and the nod why Sean Connery was his dad, right? Because of his infatuation with James Bond. But like Han Solo is like the character, and I'm not even the biggest Star Wars fan. I don't even care what you really do with Star Wars outside of any of it, right? But like Harrison Ford embodies Han Solo, his quirks, his mannerisms, his facial expressions, his, talking to Chewie, right? It just, because I don't know. I look at the characters that Harrison Ford plays, and like you could recast a lot of those characters and be totally fine. I always thought Bradley Cooper would probably make a great Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah. It is funny though, Corey, because that's the character. He didn't like Han Solo. He doesn't
I
like
know.
Star Wars. It was just funny because then it's
That's
like
the ironic thing.
yeah,
Is
he
like
doesn't want to play
character.
that's probably why we never got more movies with him, which is
Mhm.
one of my biggest problem with Star Wars. It's just we got so much wasted years with Star
Mhm.
Wars because Lucas didn't want to do anything and nobody did anything. And it's like, oh God, and the characters just and the actors just got too old. So it was just that's where I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, so many wasted opportunities because there's so many cool storylines that they created in the EU, but nobody wanted to put them on the screen. So
Which was actually cool, and like in the Mandalorian when Luke showed up and it was actually Mark Hamill with
yeah,
the face technology, which like I I didn't think it was as bad as people are saying it was. It wasn't Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers, right? Good, but it was serviceable for the
it worked well.
Mandalorian. Yeah. That scene, by the way, was so cool.
Oh
But
God, that made so many
he's
people's year. It was so exciting and made me so excited. And to your point, I hope people will be excited and will allow those characters to be revisited with other voice actors, with maybe
well
technology,
well
because it
that
would be a shame if they weren't.
that petition was going out that said, "Hey, Sebastian Stan looks just like Mark Hamill," right? Like,
Absolutely,
not exactly, but that
it
picture
can
was
work.
floating around, and you
Yeah.
can make it work, right, with a little makeup, and you know, I I don't know, man. I would love to see like Luke, what happens to Luke after Return of the Jedi, those 20 or 30 years that happen in between, um, and the him starting the academy, and you know, I don't know how you fit Princess Leia into it, or you know, I don't know. I don't think what's his face did a bad job playing Han Solo in Solo either. Uh I mean,
I just thought and I was so excited about a Han Solo solo film because I'm like, he's the one character that has stories to tell.
right.
I just didn't want the Wikipedia version where it's like, remember when I got this thing? I got this thing. I just wanted stories of him doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't need everything explained. And I
That
think that's where
instead
fan
of a
service
movie,
drives me
like
nuts.
that's where the Disney Plus show should have come in, right? Like
Oh yeah.
the Han Solo Disney Plus show is where you should have gone, right? And there's still there's that rumor that what was it, the Lando show or whatever, that's coming,
Yeah.
right? They announced the Lando show, which I think it should have been like a Han and Lando show to an extent. But
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure he'll be in it, but
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with these heritage characters. Not say you can't touch them. Have some cool adventures, have some fun times with them, because almost all of us started our love because of those core characters and not because of the Clone Wars.
Right.
And the Clone Wars are largely a younger group of kids, but it was really to make a series of movies that nobody really loved that much, and they were divisive, to really build on and develop them. And just like we talked about with the MCU things, this was to give these characters some context to say, these actually are good characters, but we have to show you more than you saw in those, those 6 hours on screen with those movies. So I think that's where we're going to land with Star Wars, hopefully, versus being tied into more of the same era. I mean, I'm kind of prequel era out, because they've kind of told every story there is to tell. And yes, there's probably more details they can add, but that's where you do comics and novels and things like that.
Yeah.
But let's hit on the other eras.
Yeah, I feel like in Star Wars at this point, you either go after episode 9, right? Like years after episode 9, especially because they just confirmed that like Rey's not really part of their plans for the future at this moment. I mean, Disney has money, so we'll see, but you either go way far in the future or you go way back in the old Republic. And I know they're doing like their High Republic stuff right now.
Well, the High Republic, and then we have the Acolyte, which is the only series which is like that, which is supposed to kind of be the emergence of the the Sith, which is cool. But I mean, I hope it works. But we could talk, Corey, we could talk about Star Wars all day.
I know. We can
I have a very unpopular opinion about Star Wars, and people hate me for it. But you know what?
Wait,
I'm
what's
just
your
a guy.
unpopular opinion about Star Wars?
I hate the prequels. I'm not a fan of the Last Jedi, because I felt like it didn't serve anyone any well, because I think it tried to undo Episode 7. Then it set some things in motion. Then they brought back the director of Episode 7 into 9. And he's like, okay, I got to fix this, and I got to do this movie in 2 hours. Oh crap! So I just felt like a comedy of errors. Kathleen Kennedy did what she was doing. She reacted to negative content and didn't stick to her guns. So ultimately, she's the executive, I feel like, that has no real throughput from
it all starts at the top,
standpoint.
Right? It all starts at the top.
And she was never a creative medium. She was someone that they trusted as an executive standpoint, from a creative side point, and then she tried to pivot because of unpopular opinions. And I just think it turned into a hot mess.
Plus, like, I mean, no offense to like Carrie Fisher when she passed away, but taking that scene where she gets sucked out the window in episode 8, like that was your chance to like course correct right there, right? I mean, you knew she wasn't coming back for 9. Right, that like you could have just said, hey, we're going to delay the movie 6 months, we're going to do some reshoots, we have to do some rewrites, we're going to change some things, right? And there you go. There's your out for, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but that's your out, right? And then whatever you want to do with Luke, you save for the last film now, right? Because like their plan was to kill off one character in every movie, I guess, apparently. And then like, I wish they would have stuck with the Finn storyline too, right?
Yeah, Kelly Marie Tran. Yeah, there were so many things that storyline where they went to the casino, and then they brought in what's his name, the stuttering guy, and I just felt like they just didn't know what to do. And Rian Johnson's a great director, but he was trying to do something completely different that disrupted the flow, that sabotaged everything that came over. And it's like I just think that they should have said, if we're going to do something really disruptive with Star Wars, let's not do it.
Let's do it with an anthology movie.
Let's do it with a new series where we can take Star Wars new places versus we're going to piss off everybody or make some people happy. And then the next one, and then JJ's got to be like, I got to put this thing together and land it in 2 hours. Yeah. I'm going to make everybody unhappy. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why we don't have a Star Wars film
Like they
until
could.
Rogue
I mean, this
Squadron.
is a perfect
Yeah.
thing for a what if thing, right? Like obviously Finn is a turncoat stormtrooper, right? He's a turncoat stormtrooper, turns into a Jedi. That's an absolutely amazing story to tell. Why aren't we telling that story? That's an awesome story to tell.
Yeah.
Which is like when episode 7 came out, like that's where I thought they were going, where like Rey and Finn would become Jedi together. And then obviously Poe would be the Han Solo stand-in. But
and you kind of saw Rian Johnson was really focused on the Rey and Kylo relationship, which is fine. But then I felt like everybody else was kind of just filling space. We had to put them in a situation. Phasma just kind of ended up being like a Boba Fett 2, where she looks cool but didn't get much to do. And then we had that cool character.
Phasma is such a interesting and cool character that they did nothing with. And like you said, like a Boba Fett character, but even then, like they set her up in the marketing and everything, like she was going to be some important, villain, and she got canned twice. So
and that's the Star Wars stuff is really interesting. So
and we didn't even hit on Snoke.
No, that was so weird. I get it. People want to take chances and be edgy with Star Wars, and you can. If you can do it in a way that makes sense. But when they were, wow, Corey, I could go on. I will be flambéed. I will be flambéed by Mark and Charlie because they are more accepting of just everything, and I'm just a little more critical because as of right now, Star Wars is in a weird space where they are passionate about one era but not really excited about other eras, and hopefully that's going to change. So that's all I'll say.
At least we know I'll never be invited on Holocron Chronicles.
No, you have some really good takes on it. It just becomes a scenario where Star Wars is very controversial right now, and just if you are not like accepting of all of the eras, you're kind of considered a hater, which I just think is just silly. But that's okay. It's okay.
You can be a fan of. I mean, you can be a fan of something and still be critical. I think that's what makes you a fan, right? I think people lose sight of the term fan. Like it comes from the word fanatic. It means you're crazy and just passionate about a property. And I think when you're that passionate and that excited about a property, it's okay to be critical of the things that are bad and excited about the things that are good. I mean, I think that's okay. Like I like Star Wars. I'm not the biggest fan, but like I can see what's good and what's bad. I can be critical of what's bad and be excited for things that are good. And I can have controversial takes. Like as controversial as The Last Jedi was, there were parts of that movie that I thoroughly enjoyed, so.
Me too. Rian Johnson, I think, had some of the coolest like lightsaber scenes, and some of the coolest like battle scenes in space are cool. And that one scene where they use the light speed to do damage was very cool. Other parts I'm just like, okay, not so good. But I do want to say when it comes to I'm hopeful for Star Wars in the future. We'll see where that goes. But that's obviously another discussion, another podcast that you can listen to on the Secret Friends Unite Network. But with myself on where I would go with What If, I would go another direction with the Harry Potter franchise. I don't love the Fantastic Beasts. And I think a what if could be, what if Harry didn't land where he did with, we have, what is it, the Broadway show and everything like that. He becomes an Auror. And we get to see a different part of the Harry Potter universe where he is the one that's investigating crimes of magic and different things. And it's almost like an X-Files or that type of like different type of era of Harry Potter, which I think that universe is so lush with cool ideas. And it just feels like we're just getting the Fantastic Beasts, which is a prequel, but we are getting anything forward looking. And there's got to be something more than Voldemort,
around this. It still revolves around the same initial characters like Dumbledore, right? Like, I mean, it's the same problem that Star Wars has. There's this vast universe and this vast world to explore, and all of these probably cool characters or bad guys or villains, or like you said, the Aurors is a cool idea, but we're still at Hogwarts. We're
obsessed with that era, right?
Yeah. And like we can't get out of that just mindset of like, oh, well, we got to follow Dumbledore and see how he gets to be the headmaster at Hogwarts. No, let's do something cool. Let's go to a different school. Like what's another magic school? Let's follow a set of kids from that school and
Yeah.
see what happens in that, right? Like Hogwarts isn't the only school, right? You see that in the books. Like there's more schools. Like what's happening in like I know Fantastic Beasts takes place in New York, right? Like what's happening in like 1990s New
America.
York or
Yeah.
2000s New York at this era? Like where's that school? What does that look like? How does that, like, do they take the like this weird subway to school? Like, I mean, there's so many different things and cool, unique things, which is why I'm kind of excited for that Hogwarts Legacy game to come
Yeah.
out, because it seems like it's exploring different parts of that universe that we haven't seen before, even though, you know, you're at Hogwarts, but like it's different kids, it's different characters, it's different you know, teachers and everything. Like it's just a different era and a different set of storytelling that, you know, that I just think Fantastic Beasts, my wife likes that universe, and she's like as big of a fan of Disney as I am. She's like, she loves Harry Potter, and she actually really loves Fantastic Beasts. But like I'm with you. It feels like a cash in to me, to be completely honest with you, in terms of the movie stuff. But yeah, why is everybody so stuck on just like, oh well, that original thing is there, let's make sure whatever story we tell kind of revolves back around to that. You're right. Harry Potter is a cool one though. Like that
It's
is a cool.
Yeah, it does feel like a lot of the time it feels like the 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 dollars and those type of ideas are really constraining the creativity because it's what people are familiar with and it won't cause controversy.
Mhm.
I am all for when franchises can say, let's take chances, let's do something different, and let's defy expectations, because that's
Mhm.
where you really drive the excitement and just
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it's something where it's like we're just cashing in every day. So
Mhm.
I will leave it at that, because I know that franchise overall is controversial because the creator, all those things I don't want to talk about today, because I feel like that's the challenge with
That's
the
that's
creators and the
yeah.
bad people they are versus the universe they create that people love. And it's just,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
hate that.
that's something you got to do though, is like separate the art from the creator sometimes. And I
Absolutely.
mean, because like Harry Potter is a wonderful universe, and like I don't really know the entire thing around J.K. Rowling or whatever. Like I know she said some things that probably are terrible things towards trans people, right? Like that's the controversy, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really go out of my way to look it up. I'm just like, okay, cool. Someone, you know, that created something everybody loves said something that everybody hates
Yeah.
now, and but you can't deny that Harry Potter is such a, just it's a staple in time, right? Like it's going to be remembered like Lord of the
Absolutely.
Rings or like Star Wars forever. And uh you know, I think that universe is worth exploring outside of what she creates or what she says, right? And I know she has full creative control. That's why she went with Warner Brothers, and that's a controversy into itself. But
I hope
um
Warner Brothers just buys her out, and then we can just
mhm,
get away from it, and she can be a
mhm,
dirtbag person and do what she wants with her own books. That's kind of how I feel with it. It's like, you know what?
mhm,
If you're gonna be a horrible person, let the
mhm,
people love it without you being a horrible person, and that's where I'll
mhm.
leave it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh
I
well.
think but in terms of like this expanding the universe type thing, as much as we want it to happen in Harry Potter and Star Wars and all these other things, I think Marvel and to an extent DC are doing it. They're doing it. They're getting away from the characters that people really love. Like, would you imagine like a Wonder Woman movie in like the 90s or whatever? Like
No,
in that
it'd
movie,
have been horrible.
yeah, it's like, okay, well, we get it, but it's I don't know. I just think they're doing really good. And Marvel moving away from Captain America and Iron Man and eventually Thor is going to be really hard to do, but they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
The Guardians of the Galaxy, they took a huge risk with Guardians of the Galaxy, because I guarantee you, like 90% of the people that saw that movie didn't even know that Guardians of the Galaxy was a thing. I didn't, you know, I didn't know they were a thing. But that movie was fun. It was great, and they got the right person to direct the movie. And uh, you know, I haven't seen the Suicide Squad yet, but from what I hear, it's a James Gunn movie. So I don't know. I think that the superhero movie stuff is doing it pretty well. I would like to see some other risks. So
I think so too. And I think these are the options as we see more chances taken. We'll see more chances taken, and we'll see more characters take the throughput. So this is great stuff. And I love this what if, and I hope other people take this opportunity to see you can take characters, pivot them, and really make success. So there you go, guys. That is it for the Thunderdome. The mutants are, I think, satiated with our ideas, so we go from there. And obviously, we would love to hear your thoughts on what franchises or properties you'd like to see the what if treatment done on. So we're going to tell you how you can do that at the end of the show, because we've got B-roll now that does all that stuff. So I leave it to Mark and his awesome voiceover at the end of the show. But with that, Corey, this has been fantastic. We had some snafus up front. This has worked well. We've had some fun. And I hope this won't be the last time that you and I get together and talk about cool stuff, whether it's geek stuff or video games. So with that, though, tell people how they can find you on the internet.
All right. Well, you can find me at I am Corey in HD on Twitter. You can find all of our shows on bossrush.net. If you're into video games, we have something for you. If you're into entertainment, we have something for you. I think we have something like 11 or 12 podcasts now on the network. And then we have an expansive network of friends that do content with us and for us as well. You can find me on Nintendo Pow Block. It's our longest running show. I think it's actually the show that we met on, Todd, at the very beginning, even though, we did Nerds Gone Rogue together for a little bit, but Nintendo Pow Block was the first show. We're coming up on 300 episodes in about 20 weeks or so, 30 weeks or so. So that's exciting. If you're into Destiny, I host Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. You can come check that out. But yeah, you can check out all of our shows on bossrush.net. We got a writing team going on. I just want to shout out all the great people on the team. LaRon, who hosts our PlayStation show, Crossroads, does a fantastic job. That's coming up on 50 episodes. Jesse Douglas, who, Todd, I know you know Jesse well, hosts Arsenal X, our Xbox podcast, coming up on 150 episodes Sunday, actually. Ed does a great job with our Nintendo show. Logan heads up our entertainment department with Q List. We review seasons of TV shows. I'm actually on this season reviewing Mighty Ducks, so you can check that out. It's a great team we've built, and I'm very excited for the future. David and Dan are doing a great job with building our website and getting a writing team together. It's been a little overwhelming, to be 100% honest. Getting a real website up and going. I'm sure from your website, which is a great website, by the way. I love your guys' website. Might have to talk a minute after we record, because I want to know what you're doing with your website, because it's amazing. But just shout out to everybody. Celeste getting people in every week to interview. She's like an interviewing machine. We have an interview every week, and I don't know how she does it. So just the entire team, just a killer team. So bossrush.net. You can follow us on Twitter at Bossrush Network. Sorry, that was a big, work, or like a big plug, but proud of my team. They're great. So.
Well, that is fantastic. Corey, once again, I'm glad we got to finally do this.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I when you messaged me, I was like, I gotta, because there's so many things going on this week. Our basement flooded. I'm like, oh god,
that's right.
I gotta deal with this. Yep. I'm just like, okay, well, I gotta check with my wife. I'm like, okay, I'm free every night this weekend, and I know your schedule is kind of constricted sometimes, and I'm just like, I gotta give them options, because this house got to work. Parents doing parent things. I know your son does a bunch of extracurricular stuff, so I'm glad this worked out. Finally, I love Secret Friends Unite. Love it.
Awesome. Well, great, guys. Check out Corey. He's doing some cool stuff in the video game realm, and obviously expanding every week. So check out Boss Rush. They are doing some awesome stuff. They've got some great people. So with that, though, that is it for Secret Friends Unite, episode 338. So with that, and without Charlie. Charlie, we welcome you back next week. So
Sorry, Charlie.
enjoy the week off, and we did not stray into video games, so I think we're successful. I will tell you, be the hero, not the villain.
But Charlie says he still says keep on trucking, right? Keep on
And in
trucking.
a truck. And in
Yeah.
a truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.